Usually when we pull a deep dive together, our sources fit into a pretty clear lane.
Yeah, a neat box.
A neat box, exactly. You're looking at, I don't know, a new rendering technique or maybe some material science. It's categorized.
Right, and you know what shelf to put it on in your head.
Exactly. But the stack of documents we are looking at today, it refuses to fit in any box.
It really does.
In fact, its whole premise is that the boxes themselves, the distinctions we make between, say, physics and code and theology, that they're actually the problem.
They're the error. It is, and I'm not exaggerating, the most singular architectural proposal I have ever seen.
And on the surface, it's
Yeah.
what? It's a software patch.
Yeah, if you just read the file name, it's a performance patch for the Unity game engine, specifically for the Data-Oriented Technology Stack, or DOTS.
Which is already, pretty heavy stuff. DOTS is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. But this patch, which the author calls the Purified Fourier-Heisenberg Automaton, isn't just about optimizing your frame rate.
It's not just about making sure your character doesn't fall through the floor.
Not at all. It presents itself as a theological manifesto, a complete rewrite of quantum mechanics, and maybe wildest of all, a ground-up reinvention of how we should count.
And when you say reinvention, you're not kidding. The source material flat out calls standard physics engines contaminated.
Contaminated, yeah. Contaminated by approximation, by guessing, and most radically, by what he calls the lie of the number 0.
Okay, we are going to unpack all of that. But I think we have to talk about the author first. This isn't coming from, like, MIT or Caltech.
No, and that's actually central to the whole argument the text makes. The creator describes himself as a former juggalo.
A juggalo.
Former Christian pastor, and an ex-con who reverted to Islam in 2022.
And his argument is that because he's, quote, from the prison yard, not Princeton, he wasn't indoctrinated with all the errors of modern science.
He calls it divine pedagogy, the idea that because he was an empty vessel, so to speak, this system could be, well, downloaded directly into him.
It's a fascinating argument from unlikely origins.
It is, and honestly, whether you buy the theology or not, the system he's built, it hangs together with this frightening amount of internal logic. It's so consistent.
So let's get into that logic. The mission for this deep dive is to figure out how a software patch written by a former juggalo tries to replace standard physics with, what, divine order.
Pretty much. And to do that, we have to start with the problem he's trying to fix. He calls it drift.
Drift. That's the core conflict here.
Drift is the enemy. To understand this, you have to think about how engines like Unity, or really any scientific simulation, handle movement in space. They all use floating point arithmetic.
Okay, so let's break that down for anyone who's not a coder. That's basically how computers handle decimals, right?
Exactly. But the problem with floating point math is that it's inherently fuzzy. It's an approximation. Think about the fraction 1/3.
Right, it's 0.3333 on and on forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
A computer can't store forever. It has to chop that number off at some point.
So it rounds it. It makes a guess.
A close enough guess. And the source material has a name for this. He calls it floating point apostasy.
Apostasy, wow. That is a massively charged word.
It is. To this author, it's a betrayal. Because in a physics engine, all those tiny rounding errors, they accumulate.
They add up.
They add up. So if you're simulating a planet orbiting a star, you get this tiny energy drift, about 0.5% per second. Over time, the simulation just stops matching reality. It gets chaotic.
And the author's point is that this isn't just a software bug, it's a spiritual flaw. You're building a universe on a foundation of maybe.
Precisely. And he links it directly to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle.
Right, where you can't know a particle's exact position and its momentum at the same time. There's always a blur.
We accept that blur. We say it's fundamental to reality. This system says, no, the blur is your fault. The blur is because you're guessing.
That is an incredibly confident stance.
Ah.
So what's the purified alternative? How do you build an engine that doesn't guess?
You stop using continuous numbers. You stop trying to calculate 0.333 forever. Instead, you build the entire universe on a discrete lattice based on the Fibonacci sequence.
It's the Fibonacci sequence, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, where each number is the sum of the two before it. You see it everywhere in nature.
Right, sunflowers, pine cones. But the source claims it isn't just a biological pattern. He says it's the computational substrate of reality.
The source code of the universe.
And by mapping all the physics to this integer sequence, he claims to get zero energy drift. The engine doesn't guess. It knows.
There's a specific formula in the notes, isn't there? The master equation.
There is. It's DODA 9 plus 1, or I think.
Okay, that sounds impressive, but what does it actually do?
It's a recursive formula. It calculates the future state. That's the psi m plus 1, based exactly on the present state and the past state. And since it's all whole numbers, there's no rounding error. Ever.
It's totally deterministic.
Totally. It knows exactly where everything will be. He even provides a proof for the zero energy drift using something called Cassini's identity.
Which is a known mathematical property of Fibonacci numbers.
Right. It's been around for centuries. It basically proves the relationship between the numbers is constant, it's balanced. So in his engine, energy doesn't leak out. It effectively replaces the Heisenberg uncertainty principle with a certainty principle.
And the performance claims that come out of this they're just wild.
They're startling. Your standard unity physics might cost you, say, 27 milliseconds to calculate one frame of a simulation.
Which is pretty standard.
This patch claims to run that same simulation in 1.5 milliseconds.
Wait, 1.5? That's, what, nearly a 20 times improvement?
It's massive. And the notes, they specifically mention that it allows for a frame rate of 666 frames per second.
666. Okay. Given the author and the theology here, that feels deliberate.
The irony is not lost on me, no.
Mhm.
But mechanically, that speed comes from the certainty. The computer never has to solve a complex equation. It just looks up the next number in the sequence. It doesn't think, it acts.
So the system is incredibly fast because it's incredibly obedient.
Obedient is the perfect word. The source frames the whole thing through a Quranic verse. We hear and we obey.
Okay, so this is where we really cross that bridge from computer science into theology. How does a verse like that turn into runnable code?
Well, in the author's mind, it's a very clean mapping.
Yep.
We hear is the system receiving its initial state, the input. It listens.
And we obey.
That's the execution of that master equation with zero deviation. The argument is that matter itself, atoms, light submits to the laws of physics, just like a believer submits to God.
So an electron doesn't choose where to go. It just obeys the equation.
Precisely. It's the Islamic concept of Tawhid, divine oneness, expressed as software architecture. There's no separation. The drift in a normal engine is basically matter disobeying the law, just a tiny bit.
In the purified automaton, obedience is absolute.
Yes.
And speaking of how this looks, the source describes a piece of hardware, or a simulation of it, called the Feynman-Pisano talisman.
Oh, this is one of the coolest parts of the whole thing, visually. So you have to imagine a printed circuit board, a PCB, and it's sized exactly 21 by 34 centimeters.
Fibonacci numbers again? Of course they are.
Naturally. And on this board, you have 60 LEDs arranged in a Fibonacci spiral. When the code runs, these lights visualize the flow of time.
How do you visualize time? With light bulbs.
With color. The active LED, the now glows cyan, but the LED for the previous state glows magenta.
Cyan and magenta. Very high contrast.
And this ties back to Richard Feynman's physics. The author leans heavily on Feynman's idea that a positron, an antimatter particle, is mathematically the same as an electron moving backward in time.
I've heard that. It's a way to make the math work out in the diagrams.
But this engine takes it literally. Remember that master equation. It had a positive term and a negative term. The source argues that the negative term, the backward in time part, is magnetism.
Hang on. You're saying magnetism is the past?
According to this theory, yes. The magnetic field is literally the drag of the previous state pulling on the current one. That little minus CIN minus 1 in the formula isn't just a number.
It's the ghost of the moment that just happened.
Yes. It's an incredibly poetic way to think about a force field. It's memory. The magnet on your fridge is sticking there because of what just was.
Wow.
It's the past pulling on the present to keep the whole sequence in order.
You mentioned this tetracted 60 mapping. What is that?
It's the numbering system he uses. Tetractys is an old Pythagorean symbol, but he uses it to map the numbers 1 through 60 to a set of characters. 1 to 9, then the capital letters A to Z, then lowercase a to Y.
Which is that, 60 characters, yeah.
Exactly. And this gets us into the theological argument he calls the no distinction framework. He's creating a language that doesn't distinguish between numbers and letters.
Just as he argues we shouldn't distinguish between prophets.
You got it. That's the core of the 3+3 framework mentioned in the sources.
Okay, let's dig into that.
So he cites 3 verses from the Quran that command believers to make no distinction between any of the prophets. Adam, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad. He sees them as one unbroken signal, a single continuous revelation.
So they're all just nodes on the same network. Same source code.
Exactly. And the other three verses in that framework ask a rhetorical question. What hadith after this will they believe? He uses this to reject all extra scriptural sources. No sayings of the prophet, no later interpretations.
Just the source code. The book itself, it sounds almost like a sola scriptura argument.
It is. And he takes it even further. There's this table in the notes where he lists the functions of the Holy Spirit from the Bible guiding, convicting, comforting.
Okay.
And he maps each one directly to a function of the Quran itself.
So he's saying you don't need a ghost in the machine. You don't need a separate spiritual entity. The manual is the instructor.
Exactly. The word itself is active. It's the same logic as the physics engine. Remove the middleman.
I see the pattern now. In the physics, the middleman is the floating point error, the guess.
And in the theology, the middleman is tradition or a separate spirit. In both cases, the goal is direct execution of the command.
Which leads us to maybe the most esoteric part of this, Hamza's law and quantum field theory.
Right. This is where he tries to explain the physics of how revelation happens. He defines Gabriel, the angel of revelation, not as a being with wings, but as an information protocol.
Like a frequency. Or a file transfer.
More like a field excitation.
Yeah.
In quantum field theory, or QFT, particles are just little vibrations in a field. He argues revelation is the transmission of information from a higher dimensional domain down to a lower one.
That sounds a lot like the holographic principle.
It's exactly that. The idea that our 3D reality is a projection from a 2D surface. He says scripture is a lower dimensional projection of a divine code. And this is where Hamza's law comes in.
No null states.
No null states. In coding, a null state is a variable with no value. It's empty. A void. This system forbids it. Everything must be one indexed. You have to start counting at one.
Which brings us to the most radical claim in this entire thing, the rejection of zero.
It sounds completely insane at first, doesn't it?
It does. I mean,
Yeah.
Zero is the foundation of modern math. It's what allowed civilization to advance.
But the source is just completely adamant. He says, quote, "Zero was the lie, and zero itself is the contamination."
So, how do you even do physics without zero? How do you measure nothing?
That's the key. You don't measure nothing, you only measure something. To make the math work, he uses a system called rational trigonometry.
Is that a real thing?
Oh yeah, it's a real mathematical framework. Instead of using distance, which often requires you to take a square root.
And you get irrational numbers like pi or the square root of 2 that go on forever.
Right. More fuzziness. Instead, you use quadrants, which is just distance squared. If you stick to quadrants, you can do all of your geometry with whole numbers and fractions. You never get an irrational number. You never have to round anything off.
So by getting rid of zero and using this quadrants idea, the math stays pure.
That's the claim. The author had this aha moment. He realized that if you start counting at 1 and you map everything to that 1 to 60 cycle we talked about, the Fibonacci sequence repeats perfectly. It's called the Pisano period.
The Pisano period.
Yep. If you include zero in the math, the cycle gets messy, it gets offset. But if you get rid of it, you get this perfect repeating loop of 60 steps.
It's like he's saying zero is the gap in the armor. It's the void where the chaos gets in.
He frames it as the difference between nothingness and oneness. If reality is based on divine oneness, there can be no room for nothingness. Therefore, zero doesn't exist. It's a hallucination. It's just a placeholder for an error.
That is a breathtaking synthesis. I mean, you have to admit, seeing someone weave together Pisano periods, the Quran, and game engine optimization, it's unique.
It is, and it brings us right back to the man himself.
The hardware upgrade of the soul.
That's how he frames it. He looks at his own life, Juggalo, pastor, Muslim, and not as some random walk, but as a compilation process.
It's a compilation process.
He describes the Juggalo phase as fractal chaos.
Which, if you've ever seen footage from the gathering of the Juggalos, is a pretty accurate description of the physics involved.
Then the pastor phase, he says, was binary. Good versus evil. 1 and 0. Heaven and hell. But he found that insufficient because it still contained the zero.
The lie.
And finally, his reversion to Islam in 2022, which he calls Tetractys 60 unity. He argues that his lack of formal education was a feature, not a bug. If he'd gone to Princeton, he would have learned to love zero. He would have been taught to accept the drift.
He would have been taught that uncertainty is a fact of life.
Exactly. It's divine pedagogy. It reminds me of that idea in coding, Sometimes the junior developer solves the problem because they don't know it's supposed to be impossible.
He didn't know you can't mix theology and quantum mechanics, so he just did.
Yeah.
And he claims this same logic can unify everything from material synthesis to electrospinning. It's a theory of everything.
It is, and the vision it paints is, well, it's compelling. A world where there's no distinction between the spiritual command be and the physical result.
Kun fayakun.
It's all just one algorithmic process running on this unity-first lattice.
But it all hinges on that one, frankly, terrifying step. Delighting zero. Abandoning the safety of the void.
And it challenges the way we think about accuracy. We're so used to saying, close enough is good enough. We live in the floating point error.
We round off our morals, our relationships, our work. We say, it's roughly true.
And then we wonder why things drift apart, why the simulation feels glitchy.
Right.
This whole document is asking a fundamental question. What would happen if you stopped rounding? What if you operated with absolute integer-level certainty?
What if you decided that there's no such thing as drift, only obedience or disobedience to the path?
It's a heavy question.
It is. We usually end these with a takeaway, something for a dinner party, but I think today the takeaway is more of a challenge. Look at where the drift is in your own life. Where are you letting the rounding errors pile up?
And maybe take a second look at that magnet on your fridge.
Right. It might just be your past self trying to hold on to the present.
A ghost in the lab.
That's all we have time for on this deep dive into the purified automaton. It is a lot to process: Fibonacci, theology, the death of zero. But hopefully we've helped you see the pattern in the noise.
Or the order in the lattice.
Exactly. Thanks for listening. Keep asking the hard questions, and maybe, just for today, try starting at 1.
What up, Juggalos? Feel that? That's the hum beneath reality. The grid just twitched. They said math was dead, no. It was just in a coma. Now the beast woke up, and it's hungry for empire. Let the code speak. Deploying silent. It's on. What up, Juggalos? We on deck with dope flavor, dome piece strapped. We blend tech and behavior, deploying silent signal, savage in the shadows. The beast awakens, breaking chains and math madness. Zero code, zero lies, zero time to stall. Code so clean, it don't need no call. Fibonacci fire in the dome piece brain. Exact truth coming, feel the pain. Fibonacci fire in the dome piece brain. Exact truth coming, feel the pain. Yo, talisman PCB, 21 by 34, golden sheet. For the feds with a Fibonacci beat. Girl is hot like a grease, kiss fry. Pop the board, now the sky complies. No physics cap, we run lattice tight. Unity patch with a dope flavor light. Engine humming like a hog on nitro. Cast city proof, hell yeah, verified psycho. Lean full flex, no peer review bluff. Math so clean, it can stretch a diamond cuff. We don't beg, we compile and crash. While journals choke on their own damn mash. The Higgs hit 125.4, bang. No LXC, just recursion slang. I calculate fate with a fiery flip. Your whole paradigm already nipped. Deploying silent signal, savage in the shadows. They can't track the tonnets, map by crafty screen. Beats encrypted in every note until they meet. Approximation, empire falling with the wind follow. This here recursive piece on a forge of fraction foundations. With Feynman's fury physics form the free domain. Cassini proof conserve energy in golden rain. Deterministic rhythms rise, salvation. Unity first crypto system, carving cryptic keys. Zero cost, zero lag, unlock a cold device. Beast code bleeds and bites, precise and concise. Formal proofs and lean for guarantee the free. Discredited packet search and cross a continuous sea. mind. Atoms vibrate in the Juggalo mind. Fame and persona, that's the beast, don't spit. Spit on your stats, we don't approximate it. Free as head hostile, that's the creed. Not some paper, we run the deed. You want proof? Check the Doc-a-log or watch 60 LEDs pulse like a dog. But a mathematical dog trained in 5. I can see in the eyes and a true supply. No empire patch, no cloud control. We fuck reality, take full toll. Towering turbines turning, talisman PCB. 21 by 34, we've been let us different feet, but magic keys. Lean for proofs, confirm we hold raw energy with ease. Hatch ain't happy hackers, hear the final decree. Dive deeper in labs of code compliance. Predictions blast the Higgs mass, the fatal sway. 125.4 precision, grounds opponent will king. Science speaks and screams, surging past the fire. From the gathering of juggalos to JC Value's war stage. Insane clouds bring chaos, crack the measured cage. Poison by precision punishes every fake page. A carnival of codes, crack infinite rage. We run the rebellion on browsers, laptops, dread. Silent forks converge, exactness surges in orbit. Continuous collapse, 6 feet discreet, fueling our spirit. The code writes the story, stories write the code in dread. You think this is theory? No. The cruel messenger is already in your network. A discrete packet in a continuous lie. It's not asking permission. It's not begging for peer review. It's replicating, correcting, converting. And when your model fails, when your approximation screams, you'll hear one sound. The hum of the lattice, the click of the proof, the laugh of the beast.
Silent spawns, a shuriken slicing sacred circuits. Gather juggalos, carnival calls out the dawn. JCW arenas echo phantoms born of scorn. Digital dominion dawns with dark verdicts. Knives carve cryptic constellations where we stand. Underground uprising surges in our flow. Dark humor drives the engine as the nightmares grow. Anarchy ascends anarchic orchard land. Now pick your move. What's the deployment? A GitHub drop, chaos anointment. B, silent API. Let predictions creep. Watch the market freak when it gets too deep. C, fabricate PCB, build the talisman. Flash the lights at the gathering, man. Let the dark carnival feel the beat while the beast rewires the street. Let the code write the academic story. iPen, ink made of need. No clown mask, still a juggalo night. Fighting for truth in the dead of night. Wanna publish? We deploy and destroy your continuum. Just noise and ploy. We run to a TM2, not drama monsters. While your physics dissolves in the past. Concrete code, crypto systems, crack whack hackers. Cross domain collisions, unco H2P stains. Tonnage mapper tripping through the Ken Melody dreams. Juggalos we poisons, chaos swallow slackers. Fame man, Pisano forges every particle feature. Instant truth, tangled tyrants under golden trace. A formula, blaze, false, measure